Hey everyone, welcome back to Banners on the Wall. Anthony here, and we are back for the latest instalment of In the Box Thinking, my series where you get a bit of insight and information about what it's like to commentate on the Elite League this year from my position high above the Guildford spectrum, commentating as I do for the Guildford Flames. Last couple have been written. Time for another video one just because of some time constraints, but a very, very interesting game. We go back to last Saturday, the 21st of February 2026, Guildford Flames and the Sheffield Steelers. Final score 2-1 after overtime to the Flames. Matt Alvaro and Mitchell Barmas scoring in regulation time. Taking it into the extras, Jack Jacome gets the game winner in overtime here. Preparing for the Steelers is pretty much the same as it is for anybody else. However, you do know there'll be a few extra people watching. Sheffield, according to the numbers, have the most people watching the streams for bits and pieces. So, you need to be on your guard. Boy, do we know that Steelers fans sometimes like to pounce on a mistake. However, the threads going into this one were quite interesting. From a Guildford perspective, of course, not in the title race. One of three teams is going to win the Challenge Cup. We know that much. And this, of course, is done with the hindsight of knowing what came after it. So we remember what happened on Sunday. We know what happened on Wednesday evening in the Challenge Cup semi-final for Sheffield. However, all the good and all the bad of the Flame season kind of encompassed a little bit in one game on Saturday night. Now, this was, and I still maintain this, in terms of the overall 60 minutes worth of hockey, this is one of the best games that we've seen at the Spectrum so far this season. There was the 4-3 Devils win that was probably up and around there as well. There have been some very good games. People will point towards the 8-1 game against Dundee, but it wasn't the greatest game of hockey, per se. The thing for the Flames is that what they need to do at the moment is pretty simple. Win hockey games. They are not in the conversation with Belfast and Sheffield and Cardiff and Nottingham about the league title, but the point still stands for Guildford. Winning hockey games is important because there is still one trophy left for the Flames to pick up, potentially, and that's the playoffs. If you look into the National Division below, two teams have kind of made a change, and after a pretty poor two-thirds of a season, are now suddenly very much more in the discussion as to what's going on. Hull Seahawks changed netminders, bought in Alexi Heskainen, and have been going gangbusters and have rocketed up the table. MK changed their coach and have had a massive rebound out of nowhere with Lewis Christie now at the helm at Milton Keynes. I'm not necessarily saying that the Flames are going to make any huge changes. The signing deadline has passed. They are stuck with what they have and they're not going to change coach anytime soon. So they need to alter what they do on the ice with what they have. The running for the Flames is actually, if you look at it, isn't terrible in terms of its difficulty. It's mostly teams around them, but the title contenders are all popping up from time to time. Home games against Belfast are done, though they will travel to the SSE on the last weekend of the season, so that could be very interesting from a Guildford Kingmaker perspective. However, we've had Cardiff come to town, Nottingham will come to town this weekend, and here come Sheffield, who were, at the time, just fresh off the 3-0 loss in Nottingham, but also in pretty good form in the league. And so what do you do for preparation in this sort of circumstance? Well, one, for me, I know that I need to be keeping an eye on other results elsewhere. Belfast didn't play on the Saturday night, they played on the Friday night, but you did need to be aware of all the usual bits for your team, as well as keeping half an eye on the other teams. The other thing, of course, this past Saturday was, aside from the fact there's a full National Division programme going on, and I do keep tabs on such things, there was also all the cup finals in the NHL Division 1 and Division 2, which from a personal perspective, I want to keep tabs on, and also potentially an interesting tidbit to throw into the commentary. We end up with a game that, like I said, for me, had absolutely everything and anything in it. Now, I appreciate some Sheffield fans apparently don't agree with that assessment. That is entirely their right. I'm not entirely sure what they're expecting, and also, I think they're just being unfair. It was a decent game. You can't expect perfection. And this isn't the NHL, and as a fire engine goes past, it feels like people were kind of ringing some alarm bells about a few different things. Yes, the Steelers lost in overtime. Yes, you can make an argument about what happened with Jordan Southall. Thank you, Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire Department. But the point still stands. A lot of people seem to be ringing the siren. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. Can we maybe look at the fact there was a lot of good, and this was overall a very, very good game of hockey between two sides who wanted to win and wanted to do very, very well. The first period I give you, maybe just on the first period alone, a bit of a strange one, both teams taking far too long in the feeling out process a little bit to really get a grip of the game, and the Steelers eventually getting that 5-minute power play in the second period, which just did nothing. But there was a lot of effort in both directions that was really entertaining and really, really good. And you had both Justin Fazio and Eamon McAdam pulling out some superb saves across the duration of the game. The frustrating thing for the Flames fans in this will be that this is what you can do. And we've talked about it a few times over the course of this season, right? That this is what can be done for the Flames. The Flames team missing Jonathan Racine, Nick Seitz out of the lineup as well. We don't know about a timetable of return for Jake Kugler either at the moment, but a couple of big names down, particularly Racine, given how important he's been to the Flames recently. And they managed to get a result against a team that is fighting for the title. And the big question will be, where's this been the rest of the time? And the answer will come to look at the next day where they end up 4-0 down. Fazio gets pulled for Berman, and that's what it needed from Paul Dixon to kind of kickstart the team into life. That consistency that all good teams have just isn't there. And here's the thing: when you think about Belfast fans and the wailing and gnashing of teeth that happened at the beginning of the season, but Belfast got down to work and ground it out and ground it out and ground it out. The way you win when the league title is your most prized possession is not flashes in the pan, it's good habits across a long period of time. Now, for Sheffield, oh my word, what a player Miko Usula is. What a player. Permanently glued to the top of the crease. Deserved a goal. Of course, Sheffield ended up getting their goal when Charlie Curtie has an absolute howler and Mitchell Barmas was off into the distance. But ultimately, sometimes good teams just can't find the back of the net. And this was also something, having spoken to David Grant from the 3 on 3 podcast, that was kind of the issue against Nottingham on the Wednesday. You felt if they got one, they might have got two. But they didn't get one. And that was their problem here. The Steelers, though, are clearly stacked with talent. And the Flames just managed to find a way to disrupt them a little bit. It didn't mean that the Steelers were ultimately terrible because they couldn't break down a Guildford side whose form has wobbled all over the shop all season. Sometimes it's just what happens. Two teams go head-to-head and one team just has that little bit extra on the night. And we saw Jack Jacome turn the corner on Jordan Southall, broke through a challenge that almost wasn't there. And having seen what happened in the Challenge Cup semi-final last night, you do have to kind of wonder about some of the Steelers' defence on their 3-on-3s. But ultimately, it was one of those games that I thought was a great argument for bringing draws back because both teams kind of didn't really deserve to lose. For the Flames, of course, like I said, the issue becomes the next night where they kind of end up falling off a cliff very early. Made a decent enough rebound to come from 4-0 down to 4-3. Pretty solid performance, but again, not quite enough in the end. And the Steelers got themselves back on the horse as they kind of needed to ahead of last night. And the Steelers, of course, not forgetting, they won 4-2 on the night. The issue being was that the first leg kind of cost them. And ultimately, the Steelers have got some big games coming up and got 2 games against Belfast coming up into the bargain. They are not out of the title race. So whilst this will be a frustrating blip, the nature of the game at this level means that teams are not perfect and that inconsistencies will occur. But the team that finds a way to be most consistent will do the business. At the moment, it is Belfast's to lose, and Aaron Fox said it's about keeping them honest during the run-in. I think all teams will endeavour to do that. When it comes to this game, though, from a Steelers perspective, really like Miko Usula. I thought Eamon McAdam had a really, really good game as well. Expected a little bit more out of the top line. I think the issue for Steelers here was their top line did get kept quiet quite a bit, and the third line's sort of plan. Patrick Watling, getting able to see him again, having only sort of caught a glimpse of him when he was here before. Really, really interesting player. It doesn't feel like he's quite at 100% speed, but you can clearly see the hockey IQ is there, even if things weren't quite clicking the way that they wanted it to. For the Flames, Jack Jacome, superb. Justin Fazio, superb. Bit of a kind of a one-in, all-in performance. Both netrunners ended up getting man of the match in this, and you can't argue with it. Both were really, really good. But it was 2 decent team performances in both directions. That's the nature of the game. Sometimes it can be very, very hard to pull those individual bits and pieces out. But then we take that Saturday and we kind of keep it in its ball and move it to the side because Sheffield won on the Sunday, and that meant that the Flames counter reset again with 2 tough games coming up this weekend. Coventry at home, Coventry in the Sky Dome, and Nottingham at home. Not exactly an easy weekend to try and get back on the horse after a bit of a weird situation in Sheffield. Although admittedly, at least nobody will have the Olympic men's final to distract them on that front. For the Steelers, well, they have to overcome the frustration of Wednesday night of getting close but not quite close enough. And they have Belfast on Friday evening, which will, of course, be taking up pretty much all of their attention, because that one is going to be big in terms of the destination of the league title. Regular In The Box Thinking returns next week. Written piece for that one to come. And as this is coming out on Thursday the 26th, tomorrow night, Friday the 27th, our interview here on Banners on the Wall with star of Shawsey, a guy who won an OHL championship, played the Memorial Cup, and former Edinburgh Capital, Brad Bones Bonello, will be live on bannersonthewall.wordpress.com on Friday the 27th of February. Have a great hockey weekend wherever you find it, and you can join us back in the box next week. Anthony Russell saying stay safe, and so long till next time.